Hello, welcome to the Weaver channel. I'm Kaylee, this is Emily, and this is our mom, Tracy. Today we will be ranking the top 5 rides and attractions at Universal Orlando Resort from our trip in January of 2021. So what would you two say was your top 5 ride?
My top 5 ride was the Popeye and Bluto's Bilge Bat Rat Barges.
Okay, so our family doesn't typically like the big roller coasters that are scary that a lot of people like. We like the roller coasters that are heavily themed. So my number 5 was actually the train ride from Hogsmeade over at Islands of Adventure to Diagon Alley. And it was really fun. It's Harry Potter themed, good video on the way. Just kept you in the whole Harry Potter experience the whole time.
And the thing about that one is the ride changes every single time with the screen.
Absolutely.
So you never know what you're going to get. My 5 would be the Men in Black ride. I think that the line was really unique because it was almost like you were stepping into the Men in Black movie.
Except you always lose. Emily?
Yeah, it is a competition ride. There's a lot of shooting at targets. But, Mom, I won the last round, so I didn't always lose.
She cheats.
So, we have those 3 in our top 5. So, what would you say was your top 4?
I'd say my top 4th ride was Forbidden Journey, the Harry Potter one, because it had a lot of theming to it, and the only reason it's not ranked higher is because I have a really big fear of snakes and spiders, and the giant animatronic spiders did not help me.
I would definitely agree that was on my 4, because I love the ride. However, the spiders were really scary, because they were not just little tiny spiders, they were ginormous spiders, and they get right up in your face.
Yeah.
The ride, however, is really great, has a lot of twists and turns and ups and downs, but it isn't a roller coaster, and it doesn't go as fast as roller coasters.
True, but it does feel like you're on a flying bench, so it does invert you almost completely, it seems like.
4 times.
Yeah, you're kind of sliding up in the seat. So it is not overly tame. It is a really good ride, even if you do enjoy more exciting rides. Very dependent on screens, though.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
It's more screens than animatronics, but there are a lot of animatronics like the spiders.
Mm-hmm. All right. Emily, what was your number 4?
Oh, okay.
She said Forbidden Journey.
I thought it was Kaylee's.
So, Mom, what was your number 4?
My number 4 was Men in Black, because I think that one is fun. I typically win it. It's always a good time. As they both laugh because they think they win.
Because the 3 times we rode it, you didn't win at all.
And I won twice.
But it's still a good time. It's fun. And one of the tricks is make sure you turn around as you're leaving rooms and shoot things behind you.
Yeah, so try and get an edge seat.
Yeah, it definitely is a great game and ride.
And the other thing about that one is you can compete against the people that are in the car across from you, and you can make them spin around too. So that's always fun.
However, that means if you get motion sick easily, probably shouldn't ride it because there's a lot of spinning and tossing around.
This is true. The 4th member of the Weaver family is not big on motion sickness rides, so he typically sits out most of the time.
And he sat out on that one because when he rode it a few years ago, he didn't feel very well after he got off.
So I would say my 3rd top choice was Revenge of the Mummy because it was a lot of thrill. It was a good roller coaster. However, there was some times it jostled you around, and yeah.
I definitely agree. It is a great ride. The thing about that ride though is that there's a story to the line, because it's taking you through the film set, but when we rode it, there wasn't a lot of time to understand the story because the lines were so short. It was an amazing ride, and you know what's going on. It's just there's a lot in the ride queue that if given more time, you might understand it a little bit more.
And we did get to ride it immediately after. I think it was the next day after they put up the new screens in there and did new graphics, and they're very, very clear. So many times with screen rides, the graphics are a little bit foggy
especially
or low
as you're
def.
moving so fast.
Yeah, especially
and parts on the ride where you're going really fast, it's a lot better with clear screens.
Very clear. So that was very much of an improvement. and I really enjoy the theming of the queue also. I think that was my number 3 also, because I loved the Mummy movies with Brandon Fraser when they came out years ago, and that's what the theming is about. It's about those movies and that they're making another Mummy movie that has a curse on the set.
Yes. I agree that it is a great ride. However, my number 3 is Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts. I think that the ride queue is amazing because it looks lifelike, like the animatronics look lifelike, and the bank looks like the bank in the movie. And then once you get on the ride, it definitely feels like at first it has a drop, so it's a roller coaster in that way, but after that the ride is pretty tame and it's actually a great ride to go through. So now what would you guys say is your second favorite ride?
I'd say my second favorite ride is Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts because it did have a lot of realistic things in the line queue. It looked very real. And it was really fun. Definitely would ride. We rode it, I think, twice. It was really fun. Would ride it again. The only complaint I really had was there's a part where it pulls you really fast. I hit my arm and it hurt for a while because there's no padding.
That was also my number 2. I like the screen-based rides, but it also had the fourth component of water at times, and you felt the heat from the dragon. Yeah. So in addition to being a very good ride, 3D-wise, the fourth dimension, the stuff shooting at you, plus it had movement too. So kind of like the other Harry Potter ride, but this one seems just a little bit better to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a little faster and it wasn't as throwing you.
Also is a lot better if you're in the front car because there's 2 cars attached, and the second time we rode it, we were in one of the back cars, and there's a lot of things blocking the screen, so it's not feeling as, it feels more real, and you can't, or, not as real because you can't see the screens as well. There's people in front of you. Mm-hmm. So.
I would have to say my second is probably the Revenge of the Mummy ride because I loved it, but I think I placed it higher on my list than the other 2 did.
That's probably because it's a real roller coaster ride, and that's probably the first roller coaster ride that Kaylee has ridden as a big kid.
Yeah.
It was her very first one.
It was awesome. The only complaint I had was when I rode it, I accidentally cracked my phone screen in my hippie pack.
Yeah.
So.
Got to be careful with that. So, speaking of that, just a quick tip. Universal, you can use hippie packs on almost all rides. There's only a couple that you can't, like Hulk. I don't believe you can Rip Ride Rocket.
And Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket you can't.
Yeah. But other than that, you can put all your stuff in a hippie pack and keep it with you so you don't have to keep going back and forth to a locker.
Yeah. And I would suggest putting your hippie pack when you sit down in the ride to the side, especially on rides like Mummy, because the lap bar comes down, and that's why my phone was
And some
cracked.
of them, they actually tell you to put it to your side. They don't let you put it in the middle of your, in your stomach still. They make you twist it because it messes with the lap bars and stuff.
Instead of ending our video on a bad note and telling you our top 1 automatically, then going into our top 3 worst, we're going to start with our top 3 worst before we give you our top overall ride in Universal Orlando Resort. So, Emily, what would you say was the 3 worst rides at Universal for you?
The Jimmy Fallon and the Race Through New York, or whatever it's called, and the Fast and Furious, and I don't really know my third one.
So you didn't like Jimmy Fallon at all?
No, I much rather would have had the Twister attraction that was there before.
I liked the ride. I think that the line queue was really, really cool.
The line queue was amazing.
I think the ride didn't match the line queue.
No.
It was a good ride, but it wasn't as great as the line queue, which kind of has your standards high, and then the ride isn't as...
Yeah, well, for the ride, for me, it was literally, you could just watch the YouTube video, and it did the exact same thing for it. It just wasn't
So you didn't feel a lot of the motions and stuff?
No, I did. It just felt not needed. It felt like you could just sit there and watch a screen for it, and it was the same. It was not as fun to me as
I also agree with you on the Fast and Furious Supercharged ride. I think that along with the Jimmy Fallon ride, that the line queue is awesome. There's a lot of cool cars. There's a lot of cool stuff in the shop, but it doesn't match the ride. I think that the ride is really over exaggerated. It isn't as good.
It's a bus with a movie playing behind it and a little shaking.
Yeah,
to me.
And it's really loud. And the queue was also really cool, but we were there for waiting in line for an hour, which felt way over the top for it. It felt like that if you would have waited like 30 minutes in that queue room we were in for the most part, it would have been really cool, but we just were there for so long, it felt not cool anymore.
And I think especially with us being a virtual line, those are supposed to go quick, but we waited an hour and a half even with our virtual line.
Yeah, that's true. If they're going to make a virtual line, it should be a quick return instead of making you wait again an hour in line.
Or maybe multiple rooms so it keeps it feel like it's flowing, but it really you were just standing still for a very long time.
Absolutely.
Again, I did like the ride, but I think that it was over-exaggerated at how awesome the ride was. And our top one really was the Simpsons ride. I think that the line was really hot. We were all kind of close together, even with our social distancing spots.
Towards that last part, there was like no distancing on it.
No distancing, and it was really hot, and it, again, was a line we should have went on automatically, but yet we didn't because of the wait, because there was only 3 rooms being able to go, and there's like 8 rooms.
Plus the video, like we had talked about, the video, as long as it's good crisp video, it makes a difference when you're doing a video-based ride. The video was very low def. It just was. I love The Simpsons. I enjoy that part of the park, but that ride was not good. It made me so sick. It's almost like you were supposed to be wearing 3D glasses, took them off, and they just kept that same video.
I think it would have been awesome 20 years ago, but now is a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4K TVs in every home has changed the amount of blurring that were acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree.
I think that ride could be better if it was like a 3D ride like some other rides and not just like a flat screen where it looks like it should be 3D, because it just does not do good.
Absolutely. And, I mean, Simpsons are good, but you're probably looking at least 20 years ago when they were in their heyday, and most of the kids nowadays don't really have a good grasp as to what the Simpsons are anyway. So maybe time for a retheming of at least that ride, if not that whole area. But, you know, they still have Woody Woodpecker Land, too, at Universal, and that's, 50 years old, probably.
They just had a new movie, that's why.
Woody Woodpecker?
Yeah.
Well, I think the Simpsons could be. I think the Simpsons could be improved if maybe they redid the screen a little bit and maybe made the things not so rough, because that was a problem too. But other than that, I think.
And I think in another video we're going to talk about the food around the park. Taco Man in the Simpsons area, wonderful for counter service.
Yeah. Now we will go on to our top ride at Universal Orlando Resort. We're all very excited about the top ride. In fact, our top ride, all of us have agreed on the number one pick. We have decided that Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure was definitely our favorite.
The ride itself was awesome, and the queue was amazing too. It had a lot of theming to it, and
it was definitely a family coaster, meaning doesn't have a lot of inversions, but it's definitely a very thrilling family coaster. If you compare it to the Disney coasters and the family like Snow White coaster at Disney, this is head and shoulders above that ride. Absolutely. It is one of the first family type coasters that accelerates going up a hill into a drop and spin. It's very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Very awesome.
Yeah. It was definitely a new experience for me because I don't do roller coasters at all, and it was something. It was awesome, but it was definitely bigger than any ride that I've ever been on.
So, which part do you guys prefer to sit in at Hagrid's? Do you like the bike part or the sidecar part?
Well, we both did the same thing.
Yeah,
each time.
I did the sidecar.
That switched.
I stayed in the sidecar because I felt more protected, especially with not doing roller coasters very often. I felt very protected in a little space.
Yeah, I never sat in the sidecar because we sat next to each other. Both we rode it 3 times. 3 times we rode it. I loved the motorbike part to it. It was really fun to get to do that part. I liked it.
I guess I'm the only one that got to switch from sidecar when we rode it as a whole family. My husband rode on the motorbike part and I rode in the sidecar. By the way, since he is missing, he did enjoy it also, which was a big deal for him because he does get so motion sick. He didn't seem to have as many problems with that one as he does with other rides. He rode the motorbike part. There is a big difference in the feel to the ride from the motorbike to the sidecar. The motorbike makes you feel like you're more independent and maybe a little more in control, and the sidecar makes you feel like you're just riding along. But I really loved it either way. I would ride it again. That is one that is currently on virtual line, so you have to try to get it during the weekends and during some weekdays.
Weekdays when it's really busy.
Yeah. So a lot of mornings it will start out with an actual queue line, but then go to the virtual line, and some mornings it starts out as the virtual line. And if you stay on property or right across the street where we happen to stay, you can actually get virtual line from your hotel room
when they open.
When they open up. And when we went, it was 7 a.m.
7 and 2 p.m. and I think
and 4
p.m.
7
on like this Saturday.
2 p.m. and 4 p.m. to get virtual tickets, which there is a science to that. I am not very good at it, but each day the girls got tickets.
It's definitely something you have to be quick about.
Yeah.
It's not something you can just wait. You have to have a time, ride at 7, ride at 2, get on the app, try and get this.
Look to when would actually open, because we've seen a lot of people say it opens at 7 and 1. So look to when it opens and set an alarm for it. Like set an alarm a few minutes before. If you're about to get on a ride, maybe don't get in the line. If it seems like the line queue is like 30 minutes and it's like 1:30 or something, don't get on the ride because you just wait.
And that is in the Universal app. So make sure you have downloaded the Universal app before you go.
And you don't need to, like in Disney with Rise of Resistance, you do not need to assign tickets. You just like slide a bar that says how many people you're doing this for, and then a time. You can pick a time, whatever one. And if one's taken, sometimes if you're quick and if it's loading fast enough, you can click another time until you get one right.
So that is our top 5 and bottom 3
rides and attractions at Universal Orlando Resort. Thank you for joining us on our very first video. We hope to see you again, and click the little subscribe button. Thank you.